All right, thank you. All right, thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon. New York City Emergency Management is incredibly proud to welcome back the members of New York Task Force 1, comprised of members of the FDNY, NYPD, and New York City Emergency Management. This team that deployed down to Florida represents the best of our city, and they have a willingness to jump at the opportunity to help wherever and whenever is needed. They've answered the call across the country, Puerto Rico, North Carolina, Louisiana, countless other places, and they do it at a moment's notice. This time, they answered the call to help in Florida, to help its residents, and they began to help those residents recover from the painful and emotional journey recovering from Hurricane Ian. This was a Type 3 task force comprised of 48 members. New York Task Force 1 is one of 28 FEMA urban search and rescue task forces from across the country. These teams have deployed, as I said, extensively. They even deployed right here in New York City in the aftermath of 9/11 at Ground Zero. I couldn't be more proud of them. They deploy with a wide number of capabilities. They can do water rescue, technical search, canine search, and they also have a medical team and are able to sustain operations for 72 hours through a logistics base of operations. Hurricane Ian was incredibly devastating in Florida in terms of loss of life, loss of property, the amount of rain, loss of power, and the state and the residents are still recovering from that disaster. Incredibly proud. I'd like to introduce Deputy Chief Gerard Dowling, the Executive Officer at NYPD Special Operations Division, will make a couple of remarks. Chief Dowling.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and welcoming back the task force. Fantastic job that they did. These fearless men and women were deployed for the past 2 weeks to Florida's coastal communities that were devastated by Hurricane Ian, where they participated in rescue and recovery efforts. Over the years, the members of New York Task Force 1 have been activated and bravely responded to numerous regions nationally and internationally, as the Commissioner said, in response to natural and man-made disasters. Some of these locations were Puerto Rico, Haiti, Oklahoma City, just to name a few. This particular deployment was no different. On September 30th, New York Task Force 1 was activated to respond to some of the hardest hit areas of Florida. As first responders do, they answered the call. Members of the Fire Department, New York City Emergency Management, NYPD ESU, and the ESU K-9 team were quickly mobilized. The heroes you see before you subsequently placed themselves in harm's way, deploying in extremely hazardous conditions. I'd like to personally thank each and every one of you here today for your valor and ultimately for a job well done during your deployment assisting in the Hurricane Ian efforts. These men and women led vital rescue missions, cleared debris, conducted numerous wellness checks, and performed critical roles within incident management. All the men and women of New York Task Force 1 vigorously train and prepare in numerous disciplines: confined space rescue, hazardous materials, swift water rescue, and much more. We know how difficult it was being away from your families during these times. You showed the people of Florida what we do as New Yorkers with your professionalism, bravery, and compassion. It has been the tradition of New York City Emergency Management, FDNY, and NYPD to respond to people in need. This tradition has been passed on from generation to generation and will continue to do so. Thank you for what you do, not only when you are deployed as the New York Task Force 1, but for what you do each and every day as first responders for the citizens of New York City. There's a saying in the New York City Police Department: when a person needs help, they call the police. When the police need help, they call ESU. When the residents of Florida needed help, New York Task Force 1 was there to answer the call. I couldn't be more proud or grateful for your safe return. Enjoy some of the well-deserved time with your families. God bless. Thank you.
Would now like to introduce Chief Moore from FDNY Special Operations Command. Chief.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'd just like to add my name to the chorus of people saying thank you to our task force members behind us and the rest of the team who went on a 2-week deployment down to Florida to be of assistance to them when they needed it. Just a couple of things I'd like to highlight real quick. Deployments are tough, and I'm especially grateful to them for taking that time away from their families. We're all glad that they're back home. In preparation, we spend a lot of time here in New York getting ready to deploy based on events that happen here on a daily basis. So when we got the no notice call to assemble, we were able to go and deploy and fall in seamlessly down in Florida. Everyone down there did a great job, tremendous work on all accounts, and I just want to say thank you again to the team, and we're glad they're back home safe. Thank you.
So the team received these orders at around 7 p.m. on Friday night, about almost 2 weeks ago. And I think it's just sort of remarkable that, on that Friday night, they were here within, an hour and a half, 2 hours, the sacrifice they made. And I just want to reiterate one of the comments that both of the chiefs made, which is not only do we have a debt of gratitude to these men and women that went down there, but also really to their families. And their families also made a tremendous sacrifice over the last 2 weeks, holding everything together while they were deployed representing the best of New York City. So a huge thanks to them and a huge thanks to their family for what they're doing here. And with that said, we are opening this up now to on-topic questions, if there are any. Inez, do you want to moderate that?
Yep. Chief Johansson was part of the task force, he was the leader, so anybody that wants to come in and questions. Yeah, go ahead.
It's obviously a lot of manpower. What kind of equipment are you bringing down there that they might not have, or you're bringing a lot of stuff in? Talk about that.
Yep.
We bring a lot of very specialized equipment into an operation like that. We're able to perform operations in building collapses, shoring buildings, making it safe for us to enter and conduct searches. We have equipment to do technical searches, which would be to put cameras into small spaces to see if we see anyone there. We have devices to monitor vibrations. We have the K9 unit that you see here. There's a lot of capability. There's boats. There's when this team rolls out, just like the task forces, the other 27, there's really not too much we can't handle for an emergency like that.
Next question?
What were your thoughts when you first saw the outcome of the hurricane? What did you think? What was your reaction?
New York was assigned to the Fort Myers Beach area. So we operated there for 6 days, and the devastation was really striking. Homes on the beach that had been there for 100 years, left with only the piers that they sat on, completely washed away. There were other buildings built more recently that fared better, and there was really everything in between. We searched anything from private homes to apartment buildings and hotels, high-rise hotels. We even did 64 searches by boat, checking derelict boats and structures from the water. So it was really, the devastation was really remarkable.
Did you recover any people?
We were not involved in any rescue operations. They assigned New York mostly to targeted searches where there was high probability that we would find people. And we were very effective there, but we did not find anyone in those searches.
Mr. Simpson, how many searches the team went through?
Over the 6 operational periods, we searched 458 buildings. As I said, 64 of them by boat. We encountered 20 households, varying number of people that were sheltered in place over the course of the span of the whole Fort Myers Beach Island.